welcome to the Church of Jesus Christ. Welcome to the book club. Welcome to the suggestion box. And as we focus in on the suggestion box, this is week 54. And our study tonight is Alma 23. With the reminder, if you have to jump off, next week will be Alma 24, continuing. Alma 23 is one chapter, but 18 verses, pretty full 18 verses, some historical pieces to this that may or may not have made sense to you, and I'll explain that in just 1 second, and 762 words. And the reason I say that is we made a jump from a chapter to chapter 23 tonight. The last time we were with Mosiah's four sons, we were 3 chapters back. The last time we were with Ammon, Aaron, Omner, and Himni, we were 4 weeks back. So I thought I'd bridge the gap, and I did some reading of three chapters since 19 just to get to the 4th chapter, which was 23. And I thought I'd give you a little overview to get us tied together. Else this may not have made sense to you tonight. So the last time we were together, it was chapter 19 in Alma. We were enjoying the conversion of King Lamoni, his wife, and many Lamanites, all through the words of Ammon, the inspired words of Ammon, which means all through the power of God. And that was manifest throughout this chapter 19. And we were, if you remember, we were stirred to excitement reading that. So 20 through 22, I'm not going to break it out chapter to chapter. I'm just going to give you a review. So Lamoni and Ammon, after the conversion of King Lamoni, traveled together, and they were heading in a direction, and they met up with King Lamoni's father, who was actually the region king over this land, this entire area. Lamoni told him where they were headed. And the whole purpose of their travel at this point was to free Ammon, 1/4 of the 4 sons of Mosiah. Or excuse me, to free Aaron, 1/4 of the 4 sons of Mosiah. And along with Aaron in this prison were also others. Now, the way they knew this is it was given to Ammon through the Spirit of God. Again, just think of that. Just let that one stay with you for a second. They were given direction through Ammon's commune with the Lord. So Lamoni's father reacted differently than Lamoni probably expected. He was furious with his son. He was furious because what Lamoni was suggesting is he wanted to free their natural enemy, a Nephite. And an argument became heated there right on the road, on the way to the prison. And the king, the region king, the father, drew his sword and used it, threatening against his son. His son was no match for him. Lamoni had no fight in him. I don't think he was a swordsman. So our hero, who proved himself many times in chapter 17, 18, and 19 with his swordplay, Ammon stood between the two. And no details needed. Just know this. We'll jump to Ammon is now in a position of power. He has taken the sword from the king. He now is standing over him with sword, threatening this man. So he begged for his life. King Lamoni's father, the king, was begging Ammon for his life. He had also threatened to take half of Lamoni's kingdom, by the way, when he heard what he wanted to do with Aaron to free this Nephite. So Ammon, while he had the father in such a position, did not ask for money, did not ask for riches, did not ask for anything other than his son's life, that he would let Lamoni go and let him go and free up Aaron. As it turned out, the father was thankful for this, and returned the fullness of Lamoni's kingdom to him, and was grateful and agreed that they could go forward. So they went in peace. Okay, now go back a little bit to Alma 17. When Ammon first met Lamoni, that's when we first had this conversation. When he traveled towards Lamoni, Aaron was traveling to this place that they're now heading to. I'm telling you all this because we're going to converge in our story. I want you to know how we got there. This is a
Mhm.
land called Jerusalem, as it was in the old country. This is a land called Jerusalem. Now they name Bountiful and all kinds of other pieces of land. I'm not naming any of those tonight, but I want you to know specifically where they were imprisoned and where they were going. So Aaron discovered in his walk towards these people, he found that the Lamanites were coexisting with Amalekites and Amulonites. All of them harder than the other, all of them
Mhm.
hard hearted. None of them had love in their hearts at all. Aaron immediately, in meeting these difficult people, preached Jesus Christ with
Mhm.
boldness, with courage, with love in his heart. And like Ammon had, he was imprisoned himself along with his entourage of believers. That's how they got into the mess that they got into, so that we all understand this. These are the very same men, Aaron and these men who were imprisoned, the same men that Ammon had just negotiated to gain their release. So now I think you're at least caught up with that piece of the story and how we kind of got here. Once released from prison, Aaron and his entourage went back out, and God began to bless them incredibly. Lamoni and Ammon returned home. They had done their work. They released them from prison and were having even more success back in the land of Lamoni, okay, with his people. The rest of this is focused on Aaron. So I want you to know that. And that's why when we come into 23, that's who we're speaking of. So I'm again going to bridge that. Aaron and his brothers that were sharing the ministry with him continued evangelizing to the Lamanites, Alma, Amalekites. I'm sorry, I was drawing a blank on that, and Amulites. They were opposed wherever they journeyed. But with that opposition, they were given answers to everything that was asked of them. They were having tremendous success from these hard hearted people. Then Aaron met up with the king of this land. I don't find a name anywhere in here, so I'm
Mhm.
just going to call him the king. And Aaron talked to him and brought him up to date from the time of Adam up to current, then from current to the coming and past to the coming of Jesus. So he looked back, then he looked forward and took him through the I guess the history of mankind in that time. And the king asked him, after hearing all of this, same kind of questions, by the way, that we experienced with Ammon when Lamoni said, when he asked Lamoni, "Do you believe in God? I believe in the Great Spirit." Very, very similar conversation in the 21st chapter. But the king asked specifically, "What shall I do that I may have this eternal life of which thou hast spoken?" You talk about someone who fully grasped and was embracing the sermon that was being preached to him. Aaron's inspired words had the king fallen prostrate to the ground and praying to this new God he had just been introduced to find salvation. It
Amazing.
seems a queen was called in. Does this sound familiar to the story of Lamoni? It seems a queen was called in, and she came in with her servants with intent to rescue and protect their king, who seemed in this vulnerable position, prone to the ground. But soon after, the queen and all of her entourage were moved upon by God's Spirit, just like it was with Lamoni. Now, in this end of this 22nd chapter, we're given a little bit of insight into the region that they've now entered. Living amongst these people, but separate in their own tribes, in their own lands, were their enemies, their natural enemies, the Nephites. So, in near proximity, in almost every corner of the land, they take us up to these peninsulas, they take us to the coast, they take us inside the land. Everywhere they named, there were Nephites battling with them, but everyone's staying in their land with a threat of death, just lingering in this place. Okay, welcome to Alma 23 tonight. This is what you started reading right here. It's here that we pick up where you were reading, okay? So we're still with Aaron and his account. Following the conversion of the king, this same king provided Aaron access to his own people. The king did this by sending out a proclamation. I called it a proclamation of protection. He sent this out that they should not be touched. So Aaron and his own ministers, or his entourage, if you will, ventured out amongst the Lamanites, their natural enemies, but they were untouchables. So they had to be heard, didn't have to be received, but had to be heard. This outreach resulted in tremendous success. As the word in Alma 23 says, thousands were brought to the knowledge of the Lord. Yea, thousands were brought to believe in the traditions of the Nephites. Remember, they're converting Lamanites. Thousands were brought to believe in the traditions of the Nephites, and they were taught the records and the prophecies which had been handed down from the time they got there. So these newly converted people wanted to somehow establish separation from their own people, okay, from their own Lamanite brothers and sisters. They wanted to be separate from them. Those who accepted versus those who hadn't. So these converted thousands changed their status and adopted the name Anti-Nephi-Lehi's. Then they changed their status, then they changed their behavior. And it says they laid down their weapons of their rebellion. Now there is such a spiritual connotation to this phrase. I just want to say this about chapter 23 and what they did, laying down their weapons of rebellion. This is what true believers and followers in Jesus Christ do. First, we take on a new name. They took on anti-Nephi-Lehi's. We take on a new name. As Mosiah 5:8 says, ye should take upon you the name of Christ. First, we take on a new name. Second, we change behavior. Your hearts are changed through faith on his name. When we meet people we knew in our past, they should experience a difference in our meeting. Like these who received Jesus Christ, and to be sure, 124 years before Christ was even born, we also lay down our weapons of rebellion. Now, our weapons, given that whenever the time of your conversion is, hopefully you laid those down earlier and you're not still picking them up, but sometimes we do. Our weapons may not be swords, but they might be anger and fury and resentment and tribalism and prejudice and hatred. We lay those down so that we might heal within us hatred, that we might banish fear of those who are different than us. Remember who these people are. They're neighbors with actual arch enemies, the Nephites. They had reason to have this fear. We might have assumed fear, but they had real fear of enemies beside them. So we must take on a new name and change our behavior, embrace love, share kindness, walk in the peace that God grants us, which, listen to this, silences Satan. We have to walk as Jesus modeled. We are they left who represent him in his physical absence. We are the 2026 version of the anti-Nephi-Lehi's. Or we're not. It's a choice each of us have to make.